that you could see what I can see. This is an incredible turnout, and just think, there are 799 other rallies like this all across the country right now. And we are here to say something very, very simple. That if the adults in this country, in Washington, D.C., don't fix this problem, don't address this epidemic of gun violence soon, we are voting them out. I just don't think that democracy allows for 97% of Americans, that's the number of Americans that want common sense gun reform. I just don't think that democracy allows for 97% of Americans to not get their way for very long. Am I right about that?
Yes.
And let me just say this, because I'm going to be one of the few adults that speaks today. You're going to hear from these amazing kids here in Guilford and Brantford, Madison, along the shoreline, who have made this moment possible. There is something that is true about American history over the last 200 years. There is virtually no great social change movement in this country that has not been led by young people. It was John Lewis when he was a teenager leading the march across the bridge in Selma. It was young people at the forefront of the anti-Vietnam movement. It was young people that convinced their parents to think differently about marriage equality. And I will guarantee you, it will be young people that will deliver change on the issue of gun violence. Now, the nice thing is, in the United States Senate, I pass for young, so it's all relative in the Senate. But it moves me to tears to see that young people are forced, right, to raise their voice in this way, because the adults that are supposed to be protecting them are not stepping up. And I'll just tell you a very personal story from my life that tells you why. There are millions of parents and children out today. So obviously, this is as personal as it gets for me, having gone through the tragedy of Sandy Hook, having met the families in Hartford and New Haven and Bridgeport. But I had one of those experiences that will sound very familiar to all of you just 2 weeks ago. I have a 6-year-old. I have a kindergartner, and he came home from school 2 weeks ago, having gone through his first active shooter drill. Now, in his classroom, they've got a bathroom inside the classroom, a very small bathroom. And what they did was they took all 25 6-year-olds in his kindergarten class, and they packed them all into that bathroom, just stuffed in, shoulder to shoulder. And then they closed and locked the door. And he got home that night, and he just said to me, as my eyes were welling up with tears, he said, "Daddy, I didn't like it." Right? And that's why we're here, because no 6-year-old, no 10-year-old, no 16-year-old should have to think about whether or not they are going to survive a day at school. No child in Hartford or New Haven or Bridgeport should have to wonder whether they're going to survive a walk to the grocery store to pick up milk. That is not a world in which we should have to live in. And so I'm wearing a button today that says something very simple. It says NRA F-rated and proud. And what is happening today is that we are standing up in record numbers all across this country. We now, 5 years after Sandy Hook, are bigger, are more capable, and are more powerful than the gun lobby is, and the whole world is seeing it today. And listen, I am going to press. I'm going to press like heck for change as your senator in Washington over the next few weeks and months. I am going to beg, plead, and cajole the Republicans that are in control of the House and the Senate to do something about this epidemic, which is, as you know, not just about these mass shootings. We grieve every time another community has to go through one of these things, but kids who live in dangerous neighborhoods are going through this every single day. The gun violence epidemic doesn't take a day off in this country. I'm going to press for change every single day for the rest of this year. But here's the but. You have to promise me that if we don't get that change, if we don't get the change that we know we need in this country, that you are going to turn out this November and hold politicians who stand in the way accountable. And so let's just very quickly, before I turn back over the stage, because I'm going to try to get up to Hartford where we have another big rally there. Let's just make clear what we want. Are we going to hold politicians accountable who stand in the way of universal background checks?
Yes!
Are we going to hold politicians who refuse to take dangerous assault weapons off the streets?
Yes!
Are we going to hold politicians accountable who won't ban bump stocks?
Yes!
Listen, the list can go on, but there's a simple set of interventions that work. We know because here in Connecticut, we did it. We passed a series of gun laws that have reduced gun violence in our state by 40%. And Lonnie Reed and Ted Kennedy and Sean Scanlon and your entire delegation were a big part of that. We've shown the way forward here in Connecticut. It's not coincidence that we have strong gun laws, Florida has weak gun laws, and we have 400% less gun violence in our state than Florida does. We should be proud of what we've done here in Connecticut. So I will do whatever it takes. I hope it doesn't take another 15 hours on the Senate floor, because I don't know that my bladder can handle that. But listen, this is a labor of love for me. There are some days where I wish I didn't see the things I saw and hear the things I heard that Friday morning and afternoon in Sandy Hook. But I have to look my two kids in the eye every night when I put them to bed, with the recognition that I have the opportunity as a United States Senator to do something about their safety. And today is a day where my job gets easier because you have made this commitment. Many of you already have made the commitment. Many of you are maybe making it for the first time today, to demand that enough is enough, but then go to the polls to make sure that if we don't get the job done now, we have a Congress that will get the job done next January. Go make that change. Thank you, everybody.